This problem is at the bottom of page 9, and I wanted to work this one out as a video because it is very special. It's going to be a little bit more work than the last one. Do you notice that these are identical? So when I split these up, which you probably won't do after you see this problem, when I split it up equal to 0 like we were doing before, you should notice that when you subtract 2, you get the same value for each equation. What that means is this is referred to as a double root when your x-intercept is the same as your vertex. Notice when I graph this -2, remember that the axis of symmetry would be running between the 2 points. Since we only have the 1, this is special, meaning that your axis of symmetry is going to be x equals -2. That happens when your roots are identical, when your x-intercepts are the same value. So I only now have 1 point, and that's not enough to make my graph. So I do have my vertex, and I don't have to do any calculation to find that point. I know that it is at -2, 0. Because when I plug in a -2, I will get 0 there for the y value. Plus, I already have it graphed. So what I need to do is I need to make a table, just like I was doing before. I'm going to make a table of values for my graph. So I'm going to have an x and a y side on my table here. My vertex point needs to go in the middle of my table, -2, 0, in the middle of the table. And I need to go to the left, which would be getting more negative, -3 and -4. Also to the right, -1 and 0. Now, I remember I'm only going to have to plug in 2 of these values, and then I will be able to mirror over my axis of symmetry. So I'm going to use these bottom 2 values to plug in because they're easier numbers to use. You're welcome to use any of the 4 numbers that you have there. I'm going to go with the -1 first. So I'm just plugging into the original equation with negative, and then -1 plus 2 would be the first set, and then -1 plus 2 again. So negative out front, -1 and 2 is +1, -1 and 2 is +1, just adding those together. Negative times 1 times 1, so this is 1 times 1 is 1, with a negative out front is just -1. So at -1, my y value is -1. So back 1, down 1, and then mirror across your axis of symmetry, which means at -3, you're also at -1. To get the other value, I'm going to plug in the 0, just because plugging in 0 is really easy to do. So -0 plus 2 times 0 plus 2. 0 plus 2 is 2. Times 2, and don't forget you had that negative out front. So 2 times 2 is 4, with the negative is going to be -4. So at 0, I'm at -4, and then mirror that across for your other point at -4 is also at -4, and then just connect with your U-shaped graph. Here it's going down, and that negative out front is what tells you it should be opening down. So that you know that you probably plugged it in right. And that's how you work it when your x-intercepts are the same value.